Hello everybody and welcome to the Wellbeing Matters panel. Today we're going to be talking about techniques to look after yourself and your team. And I'm Charlotte, I'm the editor of Modern Barber. And today I'm going to be joined by Tom Chapman, barber, author, public speaker and founder of Lions Barber Collective, which is a charity that campaigns for the awareness of mental wellbeing and suicide prevention. I'm also going to be joined by Sam Pearce, who is the founder of Low Ears, an initiative that helps protect the emotional well-being of spa workers. Hello everybody and welcome to the Wellbeing Matters panel. Today we're going to be talking... Are you hearing me with an echo, everybody? That's new.
Oh my God, sorry, that's me.
No worries. And Tammy, you kind of introduced yourself there. I'm also joined by Tammy Koslowski, founder of NAF Salon in Glasgow and the NAF Stuff product line. And Sammy looks after a team of 20 and prioritises a work-life balance ethos in her brand. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm sorry you had to hear me twice. Oh, how are we all doing today?
Good.
We're doing good. Yeah, really good. Thank you. How are you doing, Charlotte?
Really well, thank you. This is going to be the last panel session that I'm hosting for Professional Beauty World. So let's go out on a high.
Does that make us the headliners?
Yeah, we already said we were a band. So I think that kind of works if we go with that.
I'll accept that.
So can you each briefly explain why well-being is a subject that you're so passionate about? You want to go first? I thought you were all talkers.
Well, okay, I'll go first. That's it. Well, for me, I lost a friend to suicide in 2014, and I was completely unaware that he was struggling. I saw him days before in the street. We shared small talk, and a few days later, I obviously found out that he'd taken his own life. I was at his funeral. I was there, and I was one of the first people to not have a seat because it was so busy, and I stood up right at the front next to him in his coffin, looking at the crowd. It's a very unique position to be in for a funeral because normally you're just looking at the back of someone's head and the speaker. And I just remember seeing all that love, loss, tears, sadness on everyone's face in the room, and thought, how can that happen to someone who they feel so alone when they have that much love? And that was the thing that kick-started it and made me, drive forward to start the Lions Barber Collective and really realize that the importance that the hair and beauty industry has and the impact we have on our communities that we serve. The privileged, trusted position that we hold is just fantastic.
And Sam, how about you?
Yeah, it's Tom, I'm so sorry to hear your story, but what an amazing position to be in, to be utilising that. And I think that that's essentially what we do in our industry. We're intrinsically linked to create well-beings without the consideration how it's impacting on us as human beings, and we tend to give all of ourselves away in the hope that we can help other people. And I'm really kind of championing for this unspoken agreement that all our services are free, and I think we need to take stand and be accountable for ourselves, because it's hard when you want to help other people because that's your life and it's all that you know. But I think that by putting boundaries in place and trying to implement some safety measures to ensure that you are fit and well and can do your job with these boundaries in place is absolutely essential moving forward.
Amazing. And how about you, Tammy?
I mean, we work in the business of people. It's the services that we provide are looking after people every day, and they come to our space to feel good about themselves and to get away from their busy lives and take some time for themselves. So I just feel like it's really important for us as beauty professionals, and especially us as salon owners and employees, to make sure we are looking after ourselves and we're looking after our team so that we can look after our clients without it being a burden. We want to have these safe, inclusive spaces where people can come in and feel good. And I think that does start at home. So that's why for me, looking after my team, like I love our clients so much and I love our brand, but for me, like my team is my driver every day to get up in the mornings to make sure that they're doing good. So.
Amazing. And what has been the hardest thing about the pandemic from the perspective of people working in, well, we've got everything covered here, beauty, hair and spa sectors?
I mean, I think, I was just going to say, I think a lot of it's been that helplessness, that essentially you are kind of at the control of somebody else's decisions, and it's about you know, people being in a position that was uncharted, and this lack of control and lack of sort of clarity has been really challenging. So it's sort of thrown people into a position of chaos in a way, and I think that that's been the biggest challenge, because we're a contact environment, so we're used to being around people and touching people and having that physical interaction, and that was just stopped very suddenly. So I think that's probably been one of the most challenging aspects.
And just following on from that, it was just such a massive curveball. We went from like us personally, we went from having such a busy salon. Our product line provides, you know, thousands of salons across the world with product, and we've got an academy as well that we were teaching so many wonderful students who were just so used to having all these people around, and it really just, we didn't think that anything would ever come along that would stop that growth and that community that we'd built. And I think a really difficult thing is that everything has kind of moved online and everyone's had to diversify, and it is really hard to keep a team of people motivated when you can't actually give them anything to do. You know, there's only so many calls you can have, or video meetings you can have, or you know, little projects that you can work on, but without doing the thing that, you know, you're passionate about and the thing that you've worked your whole life for, it's hit us so hard. And yeah, we just don't know. There's like almost like you've always got hope, but I think as the years gone on, there's just lost a little more hope and a little more hope every month. But we know, at least in our industry, we know the minute we are allowed to open again, you know, everyone will come flooding back to us, and we're just so I'm just like, you know, and I'm sure you two think the same thing as well. Like, we just can't wait to get back to work.
And Tom, with me,
just to agree, I mean, with everything you've both said, I think is really true. I think the fact that we don't have this, there's no sort of light at the end of the tunnel. Every time they give us a date, things have changed and gone back again. So we're losing, like you said, less and less hope. But I think one of the key things you mentioned, Sam, is that we have this connection, this license to touch, the human interaction day in, day out. It's a very, very unique sector, the hair and beauty sector, and it's always up there. Whenever they vote like the happiest jobs, it's always up there. Unfortunately, it's not one of the highest jobs when people want, you know, for their kids to do it. It's one of those things that we're seen as a job you do if you can't do anything else, but it's a whole different conversation that I could rant on about for about an hour. But, you know, we are seen as one of those happiest sectors, and that's because they're sort of, we fulfill sort of 5 key steps to mental well-being, of connecting with others. We're doing that every single day. We're connecting with 10, 20, 30 people every single day. We're physically active because we're on our feet and we're doing things. We're learning new skills. I mean, we do that in this industry. We are just conditioned to learn and move on because the trends and fashions move on. We're constantly giving to others, which is fantastic. And we're present. I think that mindfulness, being present when you're giving a haircut or you're doing nails or you're giving a treatment, you're in that moment. You're not worrying about the future or the past or anything like that. And I think that's why it's one of the happiest jobs. And overnight that was taken from everybody. And the other thing that we're really good at in this industry is these things. And these things are not very good for our mental health. So we've gone from being present, being in the moment, connecting with others, to comparing ourselves to everybody else. And we all know comparison is a thief of joy. So I think it's been a very difficult time for our industry. And I think being a hairdresser, I was always taught you'll never be out of work if you're a hairdresser. Take your scissors wherever you want. How wrong were they?
I also think, I'd just like to add also, I think what I really struggle with, and a lot of my contemporaries and peers, was the fact that we suddenly became invisible, despite the power and the impact that we have on people's lives. And we become part of people's lives, become a part of them, you know, and we see them in their wildest state and we see them at their most vulnerable. And then suddenly we weren't important enough. You know, we were kind of shouting in the background, going, can you see us? You know, can you still see us? We have value. And that just seemed to go overnight, and that I think was the biggest challenge. And I know that the industry is working together, but we really do need to come together as a crusade to be heard, you know.
The fact that the government have finally recognised us in our own sector as personal care is just, you know, I wish it happened earlier, but that's just such a massive win. And it just shows, although being on social media is bad for us, we have all come together, and, you know, hopefully there's can be more changes and more help in our sector as well. So I totally agree with that as well. Also, Tom got so emotional when you were talking there, because I was like, I love that so much.
Yeah, I just think it's true. But also I think there's been a lot of positives that have come out of this. I think I've seen a huge pain in the rear end. We can't go to work. We can't earn a living. There's uncertainty around finances, but there's been such innovation and such drive. Things like this. I mean, we've now realised that. I mean, I live in a sleepy Torquay in a deepest, darkest Devon on the coast. But I've had conversations, and because of lockdown, we've grown. The Lions Barber Collective has grown exponentially, far more than I ever could have when I was working and traveling the world cutting hair. I was able to spend the last 12 months focusing on the charity and helping it become sustainable. We've trained about 400 hair and beauty professionals. So when they go back to work, they will have the ability to deal with these conversations. Because we all know when we get back to work, the conversation we're going to be having all day, every day is, how was lockdown for you? I lost a friend, I lost a family member, I lost my job, and I think that's something we've really got to look at as well is, okay, I know what the hair and beauty industry is like. We are fixers, we're solvers, we're givers. We're going to go back to work and we're going to go, right, I'm going to have to do 6 days a week, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, no lunch breaks because I've got to get everybody in. But the only person that's going to really hinder is ourselves. These people have waited for 6 months for a haircut or whatever it may be. They can wait a couple more days and they don't want you to burn out. I think it's really important that we make sure we do look after ourselves when we go back to work, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Someone said to me a long time ago, and it's such an important thing that as givers, as carers, you have to have level of empathy to work in the hair and beauty industry, because you wouldn't be able to put up with all those people all day. So you have to have that. And I think it's really important that we make sure that we look after ourselves first as well.
And on that note, my next question is, do you all have personal coping mechanisms to ensure your optimal well-being? Sam, do you want to go on from this one?
The legal ones. I'm a great believer in internal narrative and kind of affirmations and manifestation, because I went through my own personal, some people know about my story, and I was it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was creating the bad stuff. The brain does what you tell it, so tell it the good things. I'm trying to be really grateful. When I teach mental health, I talk about the circle analogy. You can only deal with, that's you. This stuff out here, which is everything outside of you, is absolutely impossible for you to control. And we do want to fix things and we want answers, and we're so inherently hinged with quickness and speed and everything. We just need to slow the pace right down and adopt mindfulness. Tom, everything you're saying, hallelujah, So yeah, might be mindful and just look at what you can control, and each day can be a win, even if you just get dressed.
And Tammy, would you have anything to add to ensuring optimal well-being personally?
Personally, I'm not going to come here and lie. I have not really been looking after myself fabulously. So I think we mentioned it before. I'm just so happy to be in the presence of Tom and Sam, just people who are super inspiring and, will hopefully inspire me to look after myself. So I think a lot of my focus in 2020 was just making sure my team was fine, that we were going to be able to open our businesses again. But I will say, in this year, I have just been, I think if the pandemic's taught us anything, it's that you just can't predict what's coming, and you can just plan as much as you want, but you just never know, you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I think I'm very good at accepting that. So I think that's definitely a step as well. And I don't ever think I couldn't tell you a failure I'd had in my life. And I never really knew that was a skill to have, but I never see anything as a failure. So I'm always optimistic. If I've got anything tomorrow, it's my optimism. So I might have a down day and I might feel a bit rubbish sometimes, but I know I can always go to bed that night and wake up the next morning and just try and put a positive spin on it. So I think sometimes you have to be realistic about things. If something's not working, you just stop doing it. But I just never ever class it as a failure. Everything's just a learning curve. How did that happen? What went wrong? How did we feel? How did everyone else feel? How did that make our brand look? How did that make our team? What was the impact that on our team and our customers, and how can we just make that better if that ever happens again? So maybe I do have small coping mechanisms.
You have an innate sense of optimism, it sounds like, which is very cool. And you've all sort of touched on the fact that you have a burden to your staff, and you want to be able to nurture them and reach out to them, particularly as business owners. Have you got any practical tips for doing that?
Well, I think, obviously we're looking after people. Obviously with the Lions Barber Collective, we've built up I don't have a team of a barbershop anymore, but I do have volunteers and ambassadors, and we have lots of people who are trained by Barber Talk and out there doing those things for us, out there recognizing the signs, asking the questions, listening and helping their clients. And I think it's really important that, like I said, we've got to look after them as well. And that goes for the whole hair and beauty industry. I think therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, they all have therapists, psychiatrists and counselors because they know they need to be able to offload on somebody. And we've been sort of trying to reach out for people. We've created a Lion's Den safe space group on Facebook for everyone that's done the training, so they can go in there and they can vent, not comparing haircuts, but talking about, I've been through this, or someone's offloaded to me. And there's something actually that it's actually a proposal we put forward. It's in government somewhere. It's floating around on different desks, and I had conversations with a certain magazine recently about trying to get this funded and get it up and running. But I'm really driving forward for there's loads and loads of resources out there, phone lines, websites, but there's nothing for us in the hair and beauty industry, and we live in such a unique, no one else runs their fingers through 20 blokes' beards a day. Do you know what I mean? It's no one can relate to that. If I ring up Samaritans, they're not going to, okay, maybe Sam does, but if you're going to ring up Samaritans, they can't necessarily relate to it. And I think, again, as the hair and beauty industry, we are givers, we're fixers. We don't tend to go and seek help. So I'm trying to get a proposal together so that we would have a support group specifically for the hair and beauty industry, for us to be able to go and offload to, something that we feel like we can own. Fingers crossed that comes out. But I think it's really important that we do listen out for each other. We try and we check in on people regularly and let people know that it's a safe space to talk to us. And that is the biggest thing I've ever done. It's just people know they can talk to me. I can't go out for a drink in Torquay when we can do that during the 21st roll on, but without 5 or 6 people coming up to me and going, "You're the guy that does the mental health thing, aren't you?" Yeah, that's right. And then they'll tell me, I don't know, whatever it is about their other half, about someone dying, about whatever it may be. And my friends hate going out for a drink with me because they never see me all night. I'm just counseling people around. But I think that's just an amazing, powerful thing. And I feel honored that I can do that. And if we can just do that as a little thing, then it goes a long way. Letting people know you're a safe space, that really helps.
And Sam, on to you. Do you have practical ways of and tips that you could share, or ways you could reach out to staff when you can't physically be there for them?
I think it's about creating the understanding that the communication is non-judgmental, and also changing the way we talk to each other. Because we are, you think about our environments, our timetable, the pressure, the structure, it's all about, meeting targets and actually you become so caught up in this that actually you become part of the process. And I think actually what I would recommend is kind of doing a morning huddle. Nobody needs to get naked or anything like that, but just getting together, because one thing I encourage people to do in business is I say to people, do a 360 view of you, as a person. Do you actually communicate who you are and what your requirements are as a boss? The boundaries between bosses and friends and social environments that we work in can get really, really blurred. So I think it's about setting down the boundaries and communicating with your staff that actually you come first, and your clients, you all have an equal pecking order. Nobody is more important. And that's quite brave to do, because we are so, of course, anything I do. I mean, when I had the potting shed for 10 years, I didn't have a lunch break. And it's not a badge of honor, but it was because somebody else all came first all the time. So I think it's about setting some nice, gentle, light guidelines to go back to and try and keep to them, and check in on each other. And it's not, are you okay? It's is there anything you need? It's changing the language about how we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Tammy, what have you learned on how to look after your staff?
I mean, we as a team, we come together, when we're in the salon, we come together every Friday morning, and we have like a team morning, and it can be anything from, sometimes it's just everyone having a cup of tea and a chat, or we do some upskilling, but it is always just quite an informal, relaxed morning. And we lost that when we closed, but we made sure to keep in touch with everyone, doing actually, during the first lockdown, we didn't do it every Friday, but this year we've just done it every single Friday, still a little bit later to give everyone a lie-in, of course, but we're still just keeping checked in with everyone, and it is mandatory just to make sure that we can see everyone's there. If they're not there, we will check in and see if they're all right. And it's usually just chatter and, you know, celebrating small wins and keeping everyone updated, because a lot of my management team are still working. You know, we actually are painting press-on nails and sending them out to our clients at the moment. We made a range of merch, which you can see behind me, as like a fun to keep the salon going, and we've had everyone involved in that as well. So it's almost like creating a little project. We do focus groups every now and again where we've got our product brands, so we get everyone together. We did like a skincare focus group, and just it's a way for me to get ideas to move the business forward, but also just to like chat to each other. We do a pub quiz every Friday, and it is all virtual, but it's just a nice way to keep in touch with everyone. And I think the biggest thing with it though is, although the meetings are mandatory, there's no pressure. Like, it's not like you're going to be in trouble if you don't turn up, or you don't have to come to the pub quiz. And a lot of our team don't really enjoy this setup because they don't work on laptops a lot. They don't, you know, they're creative techs. They're used to working with clients and doing that kind of job and being on their feet all day and running about and chatting. And I think for them it's really alien to be sitting on a laptop and like trying to figure out who's talking and when can they talk. And we just don't like to pressure them too much. So we always just say, if you want to join with your camera off, your microphone off, and just listen in, it's totally fine to do that. And other than that, we've just done some fun things, like had, you know, some workout sessions. We've done, you know, it's just all virtual. There's nothing else we can do really. But the press on nails has been really good. We've actually managed, we've got 2 locations. We've got a salon and an office, and we've actually managed to work in such a way that we have someone at each location painting the press on nails with a manager there, socially distanced as well. So it means we're booking in clients, but it's actually just the nails. And we've got the music on, and everyone's, you know, they're chatting away, and it's just, we're just doing anything we can to just keep everyone engaged. And it goes with the same on our socials as well. We're trying to keep our clients engaged, and although we can't reach out, we have a massive amount of clients on our books. We've got 12 working techs, so, you know, you can imagine the amount of clients that we have coming through the doors. We can't personally keep up with everyone, but I know that the techs do keep up with their regulars, and we've even had regulars sending them gifts, and it's been a really nice time, like, although it's not been. But I'm enjoying listening to you guys as well, because it's nice to hear. I've actually got some inspiration already from what you two are talking about as well. So
firstly, can I join your team? Because all of those activities sound awesome. Thanks. I'll submit my
the honorary NAF member. We call everyone that's like involved with NAF like the NAFIA, so you can be part of the NAFIA for sure.
Oh, well, that's our girl band name then.
Yeah, there we go.
No offense, Tom.
My gender gene.
That's fine. I'm comfortable.
So Tammy, there you touched a little bit on that responsibility to your clients and how you reach out to clients during lockdown, and if people have done that. So what do you think, you know, are there kind of do's and don'ts around that? Is it acceptable to WhatsApp clients?
You know, when it comes to clients, it's such a personal relationship. Everyone's got a different relationship with their clients. I've got a huge community of nail techs online, and, you know, friends in real life that are nail techs, and just seeing how each of them communicates with their clients on socials and real life, you know, I think everyone's relationships are super different. And I think if you wouldn't normally, you know, WhatsApp your clients, then don't feel the need to. You can always send out an email or put something on your website or your socials to invite people to come and chat to you. You know, I guess it's difficult because, you know, you see your client regularly, and you probably have done for years, and then it's just cut off. And there's loads of services actually that I've seen. I think actually Beauty Stack did it, where you could, you know, call your beauty pro and chat to them, because it's someone that knows everything about you, and then suddenly you're not communicating because you're not going for the service, but you are actually friends. It's just in a different, you know, it's like a professional relationship. But you know, it's different for us because our techs are employed by us, and we take care of the kind of client system and the management. So we really use social media to communicate with our clients, and we make sure we're featuring our team and what they're up to, and get them to send videos of their pets. And we always celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, and I think like everyone on our social media knows the team inside out, and that's how we kind of communicate. And I think anyone that's got a personal relation, like we definitely encourage personal relationships in our salon. We're never, the client doesn't belong to us, that's our tech's client. We just make the relationship easier in terms of bookings and stuff. So we would never, when a tech leaves, we send the client their details and send them with the tech, you know. But I think it just totally depends on what environment you work in. And if you do work in a salon as well, I think if you want to communicate with your clients, like just speak to your salon owner or manager and chat to them and say, I'd love to check in with, you know, Janet and see how she's doing. Like, how can I do that without disrespecting, you know, my role here? Because I'm sure clients would love to be hearing from their techs. They might just feel awkward as well.
Sam, would you have anything to add on that subject of client relationships?
I'm a big believer in overstepping boundaries and being too close. At the end of the day, you know, we do provide a service, and obviously you are let in, you know, emotionally and sometimes physically. That's wrong on every level. But in terms of you know, the boundaries, when it becomes too much and the expectations are consistent and you can't always perform, I think you've just got to be careful. I think being aware that you are separated and that you are there, but what, you know, in terms of being of counsel, you know, like Tom touched on so brilliantly, you know, therapists have therapists. You know, if we can't provide the service that we're trained in, what are we providing them? And that's where the boundaries get a little bit fuzzy. So it you know, but when it's your life and these people are an extension of your life, what you want to help, you know, so it's a really fine line, and it's just a balance, I suppose.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam, for kind of bringing that side of the conversation up. Tom, do you have anything to add to client relationship subject?
Yeah, I think it's like you say, I think you both have valid points. Definitely. I think there's this really big connection that you have with somebody, and over time I've known people for 20 years and I've been cutting their hair, and I'm part of I'm their friend. I probably heard lots of things that they haven't told anyone else. And you know, as a barber or a beautician or you know, whatever it may be, you're part of their life regularly for a long period of time. You're part of their life for really hugely emotional moments, like first dates, engagements, weddings, christenings, new jobs, interviews. But you're also there for redundancies, funerals, all these like divorces. You are there. They come there to feel better and they offload on you. So you have this massive relationship with people. And I think people have now realized the importance of that relationship with that person. It's not just I'm going to get my hair cut. And I've seen people who have been breaking down because they couldn't go and see this person they've seen every 6 weeks for the last 20 years. And not because they need their hair done, but because they need to talk to somebody or they need to offload. And I had a guy who, after the first lockdown, which seems about 20 years ago now, but on July the 4th, as the hairdressers called it, Trim Dependence Day, when we went back to work, I cut a guy's hair. He lived by himself. Great conversation with him beforehand, caught up. As soon as I started cutting his hair and touched his head, he broke down in tears, started sobbing because he'd had no human contact for months because he lived by himself.
We had that in the salon a lot as well. Like the salon was the first out, and they'd been, even in August, the first place that they'd actually been that wasn't their house. Like, sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. No, I think we underestimate the impact of our relationships that we have. And also I do think it's very valid that we need to make sure we have those boundaries, Sam, because we can't have, you know, I mean, I know I put myself out there, but I've had text messages in the middle of the night from numbers I don't know saying, I need to talk to somebody. I'm hearing voices and the voice is telling me to talk to you right now. And I've woke up in the morning, tried to call them, text them, nothing. And that will always play on my mind. That was a couple of years ago, that one in particular. But you know, I think we do need to have those boundaries. I mean, I don't count me in that because I put myself out there publicly all the time. But, you know, look after yourself first, give what you can. And I think, you know, if you feel like you can reach out to your clients, then do. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I think it's individual for each relationship you have. And I think, you know, we are social chameleons. We sort of camouflage ourselves to the person in the chair at the time. And like I've said a million times, some people think I'm a, you know, well-rounded, respected member of society, and other people know the real me. But you know what you can get away with that client, don't you? You know how far you can push things, or what conversations you can have. And I think that if you feel like you can, then do. If you're thinking twice about it, don't.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that if we can create this new way of teaching, you know, new people coming into our industry, whether it's hair, beauty, spa, salon, whatever sector, that it's really important that they learn the skill to know when the conversation. This is one thing that I just wanted to touch on really, really briefly, is when we go back, we don't know what it's going to be like. And so we're going to have to learn new skills, because what we're going to have to do is learn to listen in a different way, because people have 12 months of stuff that they've saved up for us, you know. So I think it's really important that people during this time between now, if there are any courses available for people to be able to learn this new skill of listening without judgment, then they will be safer moving forward.
And it's also listening without absorbing the emotion as well. I think you'd all agree.
The resilience, isn't it? The resilience to that as well.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because we have our training, barber training.
I'd love my team to do some of that as well, because I know a lot of them carry stuff home as well. We a friend of mine, she's a makeup artist, she said, you know, you're physically touching people, you're literally you know, you're taking people's energy from them. So she said, you know, at the end of the day, you do this, and then you wash your palms, not your palms, your wrists under warm water, and you say, I don't accept any of this that isn't for me. And I'm always I think my team just look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, I'm not going to do that.
Listen, protection methods, Tammy, it's for your survival. You know, skin holds memory. When you touch somebody's skin, you're holding their memories. There's a lot of stuff to deal with. It's on every level. So, you know, it's just about teaching protection methods.
You know, we hold people's hands all day. You're
so intimate.
Someone and looking in their eyes and holding their hands. It doesn't matter what service you're doing, but no matter what you believe in, you physically are touching someone and you're soaking all of that in. And I think, you know, that's an issue. You know, PPE is such an issue as well, because it really does break all that up as well, and it kind of alienates everyone from each other. And you've got your masks on, you can't see what's going on. So obviously we need it. You know, I'm not doubting that we need it, but I think it does. I think it has really affected, you know, the way that conversations happen in our industry at the moment as well. And I do think a lot of thought needs to be given by everybody for how we are going to return and how we're going to cope with that as well. So this has been really good, because I'm like, I need to make a lot of notes for prepping everyone to come back because it's going to be overwhelming, I think, on many levels.
So brilliant that you've answered like 2 of my questions just in the chat that we were just having in the last 5 minutes.
I've got them here.
But just touching on heading back to work, hopefully in April, crossing all my extremities. Are there any things that people, do you think, really need to bear in mind in terms of burnout and going from that pace of life that we've all got used to a completely different pace of life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. You've got to remember that you've been sat down for the last year, pretty much. You haven't been, I mean, in the hair industry, blow drying, using clippers, using scissors. You know, you haven't been doing that repetitive stuff that actually builds up quite a lot of muscle memory and gives a lot of stamina. When you go back, you're going to find it hard. Be prepared for that, and even start preparing by standing on your feet a bit more, walking around if you haven't been doing that. Getting prepared, ready for it. Start blow drying family members or housemates' hair. They'll be loving that. And just doing those things, starting to get yourself ready for it, preparing for it. It's like you wouldn't go and run a marathon like without any training, and that's what you're going to be walking back into. So like I said earlier, I know you're going to go and do 12-hour days, 6 days a week with no lunches, because you want to get your clients in and get the money back rolling and all the rest of it. But also I think it's really important, you know, like with our training, you know, if you can get on the training. I know we've got a couple of courses coming up, and if you go on Eventbrite and search for Barber Talk, it's for hair and beauty, everyone can come and do that. And they're free at the moment. Those ones are funded. But if, you know, it's about recognize when the people come in the chair, you're going to have the same conversation 10 times a day. You've got to recognize those signs if someone's struggling. Don't be scared to ask questions. Sam touched on it really nicely about things like going, you know, you're right, mate, how's it going? Means absolutely nothing. It's just a hello. Ask him, like, how are you feeling today, Charlotte? You know, how have you been since the last time we've seen you? You give people permission to talk. And then our next pillar is listen. So listen with empathy, without judgment. Don't tell anyone you know how they feel, because you have no idea how anyone else feels. We just don't. But you can say, look, I don't understand, but I'm here to listen to you, and I'll try to understand, but I'm not going to judge you. Feel free to talk to me about anything. And then, you know, have one of the things we try and do with the training is in the help to help is build a keep safe connection list. So have a little look at what things are available, because you remember, when we're listening, we're not trying to solve or fix anyone. No one likes to be solved or fixed. No one likes to be told what to do. And actually, we all know, all of us know what we should be doing about the things that we don't like in our lives. Like I you know, through lockdown, I probably ate way too much and exercised not enough because I wasn't at the gym. So I know that I need to lose weight, and I know what I need to do that. If someone tells me you need to lose weight, the first thing I do is ring up Domino's or whatever. But, you know, it's one of those things where we fight back against being told, but I know what I need to do. So it's about giving people that platform to realize that, and then having resources that we can signpost people to, whether that be call up, shall we call, make a safety plan with them, shall we call your brother, shall we call your mum, shall we call them and get them to come and pick you because I'm worried about you, have you thought about this and this and this, have a look what's in your area, what you can signpost people to, because it can be really impactful, but also make sure we're looking after ourselves as well. And those things that we signpost to, like Samaritans or hubofhope.co.uk, or a new one I learned about today called pickle.org, which is amazing, which they do all, if you're in a pickle, basically with anything, there's loads of resources on there. Have a look for those things for yourself as well. If you're struggling, don't be scared to open up and talk to people.
And Sam,
there's a new condition that's actually been recognised during the pandemic called bore out. I'm sure Tom knows all about this, and it's pretty similar to burnout, which is a recognised disease by who? Not the band, obviously, the World Health Organization. And bore out is a condition that is basically boredom. So it's complacency, lackluster, no drive, ambition, anything else. It's something that we touch on in the low ears training. Not that I'm pitching my training, Tom, at all.
Hey, go for it.
I'm listening.
And it's interesting because this can be just as disruptive to a person's mental health, as well as being exhausted, burnt out, that kind of end of the scale. So looking on the scale of continuum, which is where your mental health is, bore out is somebody who's kind of got lost in the system. So if you have an opportunity when you go back, you know, address this with your staff, sit down and talk to them and just say, you know, how are you feeling in terms of your position? Obviously, you know, we're looking at and kind of navigate them back through it, and know that we are here for you at the end of the day. And that's what we want to be able to create, is this very safe space where you can just talk. Yeah. So burnout and bore out are two things to look at. You might have somebody who's, you know, presenteeism is something in our industry that's rife because we're on all the time. That's fine for so long, but bore out is just as damaging in terms of people sort of, well, there's no point, you know, what's the point? It's just going to happen again. And that we need to break that cycle. So that's something Brilliant. To look out for.
Yeah, that, I mean, what you both said there was incredible. From my perspective, just on a different side of that, is just, I think it's really, and Tom, you touched on it as well, it's just really, really important to not be booking in those 12-hour days, you know, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, not taking a lunch break, because you are just going to burn out. You'll be going from bore out to burnout, and that's, you know, Sam, I'm pretty sure you can tell us that's not a good place to be. So, you know, as a salon owner, like, I would love nothing more than to get as much money as we could in the bank after being shut for the best part of a year, but I certainly will not be doing that to my team. We won't be opening any extended hours, and we will also, I'm so glad that we have the furlough scheme, because we can flexi furlough our team. So it means we will be doing like a part-time staggered return. There's no way we're flinging our team in 5 days a week. So but I just think it's really, really important. And if it comes down to pricing and getting money in the bank, you've been shut for a year, get those prices up. Our industry is massively underpriced anyway. You know, really reevaluate your pricing, add on the extras for the PPE. If you're blocking out 15 minutes before in between clients for clean downs, like, price that in. The industry is not going to be the exact same when we go back, and we are massively underpriced. Like, really, really look at your pricing. There's really good courses and workshops and mentors and people to speak about for your pricing, and, you know, why shouldn't your service be worth that? And if we all do it together, then no one's going to question why it's happening. We can't be as competitive as the industry has been and undercut each other and offering things for, you know, 10-15 pounds when it's costing you double that, really. And, you know, what is costing you in the long run is your well-being and your team's well-being, and, you know, your clients will be so thankful that they can just come back to you and that you're worth every penny, you know. So I would definitely just get everyone to reassess their pricing. And And another thing, just off the back of that, don't go into social media and apologize for it. That's your place and that's what you're worth. So the amount of salons I see, you know, with these big long explanations as to why their prices are going up, if your client doesn't accept that, they can go wherever they want. They're not your client if they're not willing to pay that money for you. So I think that's a big thing of wellbeing, because if you lower your prices, you have to fit more clients in. If you're pricing yourself right, you don't need to hammer all those clients in. And also, just off the back of that, don't be disheartened if all your clients don't book in immediately. People are scared. Like, we're excited to get back to work. We know we're a safe environment and we know how much we're doing, but it's going to be really difficult for people to come out and do things properly. And you might not see some of those regulars for another 6 months. They might not even want to keep getting beauty services done for a long time, and that's totally fine. Everything will be fine.
Can I just add to that slightly? Sorry. Sorry.
You go, Tom.
I think, you know, in a time when we are in the hair and beauty industry is valued the most it ever has been, people are really, really dying to get back. They're not going to squabble over a few quid extra, and they're probably going to be, you know, just happy to see you, and they value you, and they value you for a whole different reason now because it's been taken away. And remember that this has happened, the crash is not because of recession, not because no one's got any money. People have money, and a lot of people I've spoken to, I know a lot of people are struggling, but a lot of people I've spoken to are cash rich right now. They've been furloughed, they haven't had to travel, they haven't had to spend money. So our customers, a lot of them have probably still been working or been furloughed and haven't had to travel in and out of London or in and out of wherever, commuting, no spending money on lunches and coffees and evenings and nights out. Loads of them have got loads of money. I had a virtual meeting the other day, and everyone was going, "Oh, I can't wait. They were talking about revenge spending and all this stuff." So let's take advantage of that situation. This sort of like a blank sheet for us to start again effectively and go, right, okay, look, this is what I'm worth. And that's charged by the minute rather than by the service, because, you know,
love that, charged by the minute.
Well, the thing is as well, like someone in the hair industry, if someone comes in and has a full head of foils and it costs 60 quid or whatever it is, and you've got someone comes in, they've got hair up here and it's fine, it takes hardly any time, and someone comes in and got hair down here and it's like massive, it's going to, and he's still charging 60 quid. That's not real value. It's ridiculous on yourself. We need to start charging by the minute and by the time that it takes us, value in our time as an industry and our expertise, not just that 60 minutes now, but the last 20 years of experience as well, and the failures and the lessons that we've learned. Sorry, I'll stop.
Yes, your manicure is going to cost you £2,500. Thank you very much. I
know some people would say that.
I just wanted to add one last thing to this particular subject. Was we've created these environments that are designed to look after other people, so use them to look after each other. So rather than cramming your diary full, say to whoever, it's your turn, you have a massage, we'll do swapsies later. You know, use the space that you've got to invest in each other rather than using that space to focus on everyone else. I think that'll be really beneficial.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, this feels like such an amazing call to arms and some seriously like practical action that people watching this can take, whether they're hairdressers, beauty therapists, spa owners, spa workers. Like, thank you so much for A, all of your honesty, and B, all your amazing practical tips as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.